Sophia Bracy Harris was born into a world with a stark dividing line, separating black from white, the haves and have-nots, and those deemed better than or less than. A world where separate never meant equal. The lines were both visible and invisible, and any challenge to erase that line could be fatal, as they were maintained by custom and law and enforced by violence. Finding My Own Way, A Journey to Wholeness Against the Odds, is the story of Sophia Bracy Harris, a courageous woman who defied the lines drawn by others to achieve national prominence as a child advocate and a human rights leader. From her early life growing up on a cotton farm in Wetumpka, Alabama, poverty, segregation, and chronic illness fostered in her a sense that she was inferior to others. Yet, her mother believed, and she believed in the potential of her children, and instilled in them the importance of getting a good education to achieve a better life. Sophia and her sister Deborah were among the first wave of black students to integrate all white schools across the Black Belt, a bold and dangerous act that eventually resulted in the arrest and unjustified expulsion of her sister from high school and the firebombing of her family's home by whites in retaliation. Yet, she persisted. It was those early experiences that sparked the flame for justice and resistance, and Sophia would go on to dedicate the next 43 years of her life to help families just like hers by co-founding and serving as executive director of the Federation of Child Care Centers of Alabama. Her work on behalf of African American and poor Alabama families brought her to the halls of power in state government, led her to organize 300 black child care providers to demand justice for women and children, and garnered her a seat on some of the nation's leading civil rights and human rights organizations. Yet despite earning countless prestigious awards, having key legislative victories, and working along some of the nation's leading figures in human rights, she still waged the very private, painful battle to answer the persistent question, am I good enough? Narrated with grace, humor, and authenticity, Finding My Own Way is a compelling journey of a life punctuated by challenges and triumphs, and most importantly, the discovery that by birth, we are all created by God, equal and more worthy than we ever could imagine. Finding My Own Way, a journey to wholeness against the odds.
Let's say amen. Come on, put your hands together. God bless you. Miss Mona, stand up. God bless you. This is a young lady that you hear every Sunday behind the church notes, Miss Mona. God bless you. And of course, Sister Sophia Bracy Harris is present, and Sister Ida Jones. Would you two please come to the podium at this time?
This morning, Project Thursday would like to thank Ms. Bracy for selecting our group to give to us 10 of her books, Finding Our Own Way, because our program entitles mentorship. So we're going to take all the good in her book and instill in our children that they can make a change. and we thank her so much.
Good morning. Pastor Ellis, I'm honored. Sister Jones, and to the whole congregation, what makes me very proud to be here is that we are from the same hometown. And he was more in the grades with my brothers, but what an honor to be a part of this sanctuary and see the spirit and the joy, and to be with you to share with you something that I have wanted to do for many years. And as Mona described in the presentation there, that it was an effort to overcome the stigma of being a sickly child and seeing my mother insulted as she tried to get medical help for me. It was to overcome the stigma of being shamed on the first day being at Wetumpka High because I didn't know the definition of utopia. And the class laughed and just had joy at my shame, and I felt so embarrassed. But throughout my life in growing up, your Project Thirsty took me back to those Cottonfield days. Your Project Thirsty took me back to the time I missed a year out of school when I was brought by some of the sisters in our community books to read. And I remember reading this story of Heidi, girl over in Switzerland who grew up with her grandparents out on some farm of sorts. And it caused me to imagine that I could be better and do other things. And it was from that imagination that got me through many years of toil. Reading that book was much of what helped me to learn to read other books and enjoy reading other books. But one important thing the reading did, it also helped me to pass that ACT test to get in college, because my math was so poor, but my reading and my English were so high that I got on into college on probation. But I was on the dean's list. By the second semester, I was on the dean's list. That's what made me want to encourage our young people to read. It's great to look at the movies on the TV. It's great to listen to TikTok. But when you read, you discover words that you didn't know. When you read, you punctuate in ways that you wouldn't do otherwise. When you read, you get an imagination of what you can be and what you can do and where you can go. So I want to make this contribution of 10 books to the Project Thirsty because I know the importance and the value, and most important, knowing what our history is, knowing the ancestors who we are standing on their backs, learning about what they went through for us to be where we are. I wanted to capture those mentors and those ancestors to remember for my children and my grandchildren and the generations to come. And I am so thrilled to be here in this audience this morning. My two children, my grandchild, my sister, and her husband, Pastor Lorenzo Moore, and the nieces and nephews that are back there. May I take a point of personal privilege and ask my family to stand? Pastor. Thank you, Pilgrim Rest and Pastor Ellis, for helping me to live out the dream that I think God has me here for now. With whatever health issues I've got, it is to help engender, encourage, and mentor the next generation.
Oh, we can do better than that. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Now, she'll have books for purchase in the vestibule as we leave today. I'm proud to say that I've known the Bracy family for 50 or more years. Matter of fact, her brothers and I were classmates. And I remember when they were one of the first families to integrate with Tumpka High School back in the late 60s. It was turbulent over there, but they hold their rope and they held on. And I think we ought to give God one more round of applause. God bless you, baby. Don't forget to pick up a copy on your way out. Listen, church, from the pastor's pen.